You know, every single letter you're looking at on this screen right now has a secret. It's an ancient story, and it doesn't start in some dusty library, but out on the open water, on the deck of a trader ship sailing the Mediterranean thousands of years ago. So let's get into it.
So, if I asked you where our alphabet comes from, what would you say? The Romans? Maybe the Greeks? Well, that's what most people think, but that's not the real beginning of the story. Not even close. The actual origin is way more surprising.
That's right. Long before the great Greek philosophers were writing their dialogues, and way before Roman engineers were building their aqueducts, a completely different group of people invented the simple, elegant technology that made all of that future writing possible.
To find them, our story has to start in the ancient Levant. We're talking about a civilization of master sailors and brilliant traders who were known to the Greeks by a very curious nickname, the Purple People.
These were the Phoenicians, and they got that name because they had mastered the creation of this incredibly valuable purple dye from sea snails. It was so expensive and rare that it literally became the color of royalty. But you know what? Their most valuable export wasn't a color at all. It was an idea.
And this is it. This is what they created. Forget about hundreds of complex, hard-to-memorize pictures. They developed this sleek 22-letter system. And you gotta understand, this wasn't just another way to write. It was a brand new tool for the mind. It was radically simple and built for speed, just like their ships.
The absolute genius of this thing was its simplicity. See, each letter was based on a picture that stood for a sound. The very first letter, Aleph, was based on the Phoenician word for ox, and it originally looked kind of like an ox's head with horns.
And the second letter, Bet, came from their word for house. You could almost see the simple floor plan of a house in its shape. So you've got Aleph, and you've got Bet. You see where this is going, right? Alphabet. The name itself tells the story of this system built on the everyday world of the people who invented it.
Now, an invention this powerful, this useful, was never going to stay in one place. The Phoenicians were traders, after all. So with every shipment of cedarwood, glass, and that famous purple dye, they also exported their alphabet. Their trade routes basically became alphabetic superhighways.
And just look at how fast this idea spread. It's incredible. It takes just a few hundred years to go from the Phoenician traders around 1200 BCE all the way across the sea to Greece. From there, Greek traders carry it over to Italy, where it's picked up by the Etruscans, and then, finally, it's forged into the Latin script by the Romans. It's like a baton being passed in a relay race across the ancient world.
But here's the thing. It wasn't just a simple copy-paste job. Oh no. As this script traveled, it was transformed. It got a major upgrade, a crucial, world-changing innovation.
This right here, this is the game changer. The original Phoenician script was what's called an abjad. It only had letters for consonants. You just had to guess the vowels from the context, which you can imagine could get tricky. The Greeks, in an absolute stroke of genius, created the world's first true alphabet by adding separate letters for the vowels.
And how they did it is just so clever. The Phoenician script had these deep, throaty consonant sounds that the Greek language just didn't have. So instead of throwing those letters away, they recycled them. They repurposed a symbol like ayin, which they couldn't pronounce, and turned it into the vowel O. It was the perfect linguistic hat. So from Greece, the alphabet continued its journey west. First, Greek colonists brought their new and improved script to Italy. There, the neighboring Etruscans picked it up and tweaked it for their own language. And finally, the rising power of Rome borrowed the alphabet from the Etruscans and standardized it into the powerful, efficient script that would run an entire empire.
So why does any of this matter? I mean, a bunch of letters traveled around the Mediterranean. Big deal, right? Well, yeah, it was a huge deal. Because this invention didn't just change how people wrote. It fundamentally rewired how people thought.
You could say the alphabet had superpowers. First, it was super efficient for our brains. Learning about 24 letters is way easier than memorizing hundreds of symbols. And that led to something revolutionary. It democratized literacy. For the first time, you didn't have to be in a small elite class of scribes to learn to read and write. A merchant or a soldier could do it. That changes a society from the ground up. And this right here is the most important point of all. The alphabet made deep, abstract thought possible on a whole new scale. I mean, think about it. You can't really build a complex legal system or a detailed philosophical argument just by talking. You need to write it down, to see it, to critique it, to refine it. The alphabet was the technology that allowed for that kind of thinking to flourish. This new way of thinking was baked right into the tool itself. The famous media theorist Marshall McLuhan said it best: the medium is the message. What he meant was that the very structure of the alphabet, linear, logical, broken into little pieces, actually encouraged our brains to think in a more rational, analytical way. The message wasn't just in the words, it was in the system itself.
Christopher Hitchens put it even more bluntly. He called literacy the vector of reason. It's the delivery system. That simple script, first invented by traders to keep track of their cargo, had become the operating system for Western thought.
Okay, let's bring this all the way back home. Picture this. 3,000 years ago, a Phoenician trader carves this simple mark, tau, onto a crate or a piece of pottery. It's just a mark, a sign.
Now, fast forward through that entire journey, across the sea, through the minds of the Greeks, the Etruscans, and the Romans, and today you read that very same symbol as the letter T. The ancient DNA of that mark is sitting right here on your screen.
Which leaves us with one final, big question to think about. If a simple 22-letter script could so profoundly change the course of human consciousness, what's the new alphabet of our time? Is it computer code? Is it the visual language of emojis and memes? Is it the endless stream of data? What new cognitive tool is quietly shaping the way all of us think right now?